What's going on, everybody? Ryan Thompson, the Assumable Guy. This is the Assumable Guy Show. Today we're answering a question I get on almost every seller call and plenty of buyer calls too. Can you cancel an assumption once it's started? You sign the contract, the bank has the paperwork, you're 3 weeks in, and something changed. Are you stuck? This one's for sellers thinking about accepting an assumable offer, and for buyers somewhere in that 45 to 90 day window wondering where the exits are. Here we go. The answer is yes, you can cancel. An assumption is a real estate contract like any other real estate contract. There are deadlines, there are contingencies, there's earnest money on the line. Nobody is handcuffed to the deal until the day it closes. But who can cancel, when, and what it costs, you depends on which side you're on. So let's walk through both sides. Quick background on how these contracts work. When we write an assumable offer, it's the same purchase contract you'd use on any house. Inspection deadline, appraisal deadline, all of it. The only difference is I add the assumption clauses and an assumption approval deadline in there to protect you. The bank has to approve the buyer taking over the loan, and that approval gets its own deadline in the contract. If the bank blows past it, the deal can be canceled cleanly. The contract is built with exit ramps on purpose, right? Buyers first. I know what some of you are thinking. Ryan, this thing takes 45 to 90 days. What if I get cold feet on day 60? What if my job changes? Am I trapped? Do I lose my earnest money? Totally fair. 90 days is a long time to hold your breath, right? So here's how you're protected. You have the same outs you'd have on any deal. Inspection turns up something ugly. You can cancel and keep your earnest money. Appraisal comes in low. Same thing. And then there's the big one for assumptions. If the bank drags past the assumption approval deadline or denies the assumption, you cancel and your earnest money comes back. And I promise you, the banks will drag their feet. They've got a loan in the twos on their books, and they'd love to reloan that money at 6.5%. So we build that deadline in from day one. If things are still moving and we like the deal, we extend it in writing on our terms. You're never just floating out there unprotected. Little hack for you while we're here. If the process is dragging and you're getting nervous, canceling isn't your only move. We can extend a deadline and ask the seller for something in return for your patience. Concessions, a repair, help with closing costs. Your patience is a bargaining chip. Use it. Now, canceling because the contract lets you is one thing. Canceling because you got nervous is a whole different thing. Before you walk away from an assumption, run the numbers on what you're actually walking away from. This is where it gets real. Say you're assuming a $414,000 loan at 2.99%. Your payment is around $1,740 a month. A brand new loan on that same house at 6.5%. Over $2,600 a month. That's almost $900 a month. $900 on the same house. Over $10,000 a year. So if you're tempted to pull the plug because the bank asked for your pay stubs for the third time, breathe. That annoyance is worth 10 grand a year. Let me tell you about Ben and Liz. They went under contract on a $430,000 home with a 2.99% rate, $16,000 down. Partway through, the inspection turned up some issues and they had a real moment. Should we just pull the plug? They could have. The inspection deadline was right there, earnest money safe. Instead, we used those inspection issues to negotiate another $1,000 in concessions, and they pushed through to closing, $16,000 down on a $430,000 house with a rate under 3%. The exit was right there. It was worth more to them not to take it. So that's the buyer side. Sellers, if you're listening, here's what this means for you, because I know this is the fear. You're thinking, if I accept this assumable offer and it takes 90 days, I'm locked in. What if it falls apart on day 80? What if a better offer shows up on day 20? Straight answer. Once you're under contract, you're actually more locked in than the buyer is. That's not an assumption thing. That's every real estate contract. You can't cancel just because a shinier offer walked in the door. If you bail without a contract reason, you're in breach, and that can cost you way more than the difference between offers. So don't sign an assumable contract you're not ready to see through. But here's what most people don't realize. If the assumption itself dies, you're not the one holding the bag. Think about that for a second. If the bank denies the buyer, the contract terminates on its own terms. You keep your house, you keep your equity, you relist, you lost some weeks, and that's it. Some buyers will even pivot to regular financing to save the deal because they want the house, not just the rate. The worst case for you as a seller is wasted time. It's not losing the house and it's not getting sued. And remember, all of your control lives up front before you sign anything. You never have to accept an assumable offer in the first place. Colin and Beth marketed their home as assumable and pulled in multiple competing offers. Assumable offers, conventional offers, all of them bidding on the same house. It drove their price up and they got to pick. So the move isn't avoiding assumable offers because you're scared of being stuck. The move is marketing that rate, stacking the offers, and signing the one you'll actually see through. We all know expectations are everything, right? I want to make this super clear. An assumption contract is not a trap for anybody. It's a normal contract with a longer runway and a couple of extra deadlines. Buyers get exit ramps. Sellers get a clean termination if the bank kills it. The people who get burned are the ones with no deadlines written in and nobody watching the bank. Get those two things right, and you can start one of these with confidence, knowing you can cancel if you truly need to. All right, let's go get some sweet deals. I'm Ryan Thompson. This is the Assumable Guy Show. If you're in the middle of an assumption right now, wondering whether to push through or pull the plug, hit up assumableguy.com or DM me on Instagram at @assumable.guy. I'll run the numbers with you. No pressure, just math. Next episode, we're getting into USDA loans. Can you assume one? Almost nobody talks about these, and they're hiding in the exact areas where prices are still reasonable. I'll show you how to find out if a home has one and how to take it over. See you on the next one.